Well, as Bulls fans, every now and then, you just need a punch to the face. And that's what the Bulls got last night. We'll talk about the game last night as well as some more things right after this. All right. So the Chicago Bulls, in a nationally televised game, got completely blown out. They looked outmatched, outclassed, outcoached in some areas. And overall, this was just not a good game from the Chicago Bulls. Period, point blank. There's no excuses to be made. I don't want to hear the Caruso thing. Yes, Derrick Jones' injury went down. All those things happened, right? And all those things did affect the outcome of the game. The Nets were also missing players, some key rotation players as well. But with that being said, the Bulls just did not, right? By the end of the first half, they looked like they were going to get going. And I said in the halftime hangout that whatever team was going to be able to get hot was probably going to win that game. And it ended up being the Brooklyn Nets in that third quarter, completely blowing out the Bulls. The Bulls only scoring 19 points in that third quarter. That's just not going to cut it. And this is a loss, right? That should hurt and should make the Bulls in this roster look at themselves, as well as the things that Billy Donovan has been saying for a few games now that need to improve. Hopefully now they see it. Every now and then you need your wings clipped. And the Bulls, while they've been playing great overall, right? While they've had long winning streaks and then, they lost one, came back and won, they're the number one team in the East, all those things, all the good and positive stories that were coming into this team, the Bulls got punched in the fucking face last night and they buckled. Period, point blank. That is exactly what happened in this game. And the Bulls, listen, how they respond, how they rebound is going to tell a lot about the makeup of this team, because now this team on national TV, again, a team that doesn't have a lot of nationally televised games, got completely blown out and outclassed and outmatched. Now they have another matchup coming up against the Golden State Warriors. We know Clay and Draymond are gonna be out those games. Let's see what the Bulls do. Let's see how they rebound. Let's see if they come back and execute. But overall, the things that reared their ugly head in this game have been things that have been shown in this Bulls team for a while, if we're being honest, right? It felt good when you're still winning games, even when you have some holes and you're doing things like that. But again, the Bulls want to be looked at as this contender. You have to show the fuck up, especially when you're on national TV. And the Bulls did not do that tonight. The defense, lacking. Foul calls, yes. The refs, all that, yes. It all played a huge part in how and the direction that this game went. It absolutely did. But the Bulls did not. They let the things get to their head. I don't know if it was the moment they got to them. I don't really give a fuck what it was. Honestly, like in evaluating this team and what happened in this game, they got punched in the damn face and they buckled. That's what it boils down to. And the Bulls need this, right? Let's look at it at what can come out of this. In failure is growth sometimes. Sometimes you have to fail to learn where it needs to be fixed, right? You have to fail to then go back and regroup. And the Bulls absolutely and clearly failed. Now, they have another test coming up in the Golden State Warriors very quickly. But this coaching staff, for the things that Billy Donovan has been saying with defense, this Bulls team needs to get back to defense and ball movement. How that changes, listen, I understand Javonte, I understand Alex. Listen, they're not coming back anytime soon. So the Bulls need to find a way to dig in and continue to show that they're the contenders that we know that they can be. And at the end of the day, you did not do that against the team that's been predicted to be the number one team in the East, them and the Bucks. Now, we haven't faced the Bucks yet, but the Bulls, they got to get their shit in gear. Like I said, 19-point third quarter isn't going to cut it. They were lucky to only end up losing this game by 26 points. If we're being honest, it should have been even more than that. Again, Zach LaVine had a pretty good night if you're just looking at the stat-wise. 8 of 13, 22 shooting. DeMar DeRozan, 7 for 16, 19 points. Nikola Vucevic, 5 for 13. He didn't have a big night on the boards. It was coming into this game, especially with the players that the Knicks were going to be out. We had talked about Vooch needing to show up. He did not show up as well. Kobe, again, another efficient night for Kobe. 50% from 3, 6 for 10 overall from the field for 16 points. Io did not have a big scoring night, but again, that should not what be Io's relied to do. I don't even want to point out the score. We know what happened in this. James Harden showed up tonight. They did their thing with Kyrie in his 25 minutes, only 9 points. But KD, who was good throughout, Harden, who came on, we allowed Sharp to have 20 points. This Bulls team needs to get their shit again. I don't want to hear nothing about, this just proves they need to go. Listen, there's not a move that's going to fix the issues that the Bulls have, right? Yes, you can clog in a hole in size that we have, and nobody's not saying that. But listen here, I'm not talking about trades. I'm not getting into that bullshit. Do the Bulls need to bring in some length or get somebody back healthy? Yeah. But at the end of the day, that still is not going to fix this. The Bulls have to look themselves and realize that this loss came because of how they and the lack of intensity they played. You want to be number one team in the East. You want to be looked at as a contender. You have to show up every single night. And we talked about it in the pregame show. The Bulls had to execute on both sides of the ball to be in this game. They did not do that consistently. And that's just not going to cut it. It's just not going to cut it. And yeah, as Bulls fans, this sucks, especially because we know what the national media is going to do with this game, especially when they don't really cover the team. They were looking for a reason, but fuck all that. At the end of the day, I don't give it. If we didn't give them reasons to do that, we wouldn't have to worry about that. So I don't want to hear nothing about any of the other bullshit. This Bulls team really needs to look themselves in the face and figure some things out. Period, point blank. That's it. There's no excuses for that. They need to figure this out because this was not a good win. This was an ugly, not a good win. This was not a good loss. Definitely not a good win for anyone but the Nets. But when you look at like the team, DeMar, they got our ass kicked. Levine basically saying the same thing. Billy Donovan with a long statement coming out on everything that he identified going wrong. That makes me hopeful, right, for the Billy Donovan thing, because I think he's going to really get in this team head and have them figure out and look at themselves and figure out what's going on, because the ship needs to be corrected. And I even said it, I was on a live stream where I pointed out a lot of the bad things that the Bulls were doing. I think it was against the Magic, even though they won. And a lot of people were in the live chat upset the fact that I was pointing out things that the Bulls just weren't doing good. And I said, hey, when better competition comes, if these things come, we're going to get blown out. And again, that's not to say I'm like some Nostradamus or anything. That's just identifying the game of basketball. We have to stop getting so caught up in just win streaks or wins and not be able to really talk about some of the things that could hurt us. Again, if we consistently want to say we want to be taken seriously as a playoff team, we have to look at the things that could hurt us in the playoffs. Every bit of that got exposed in this game. Every single bit of that got exposed in the game last night. And the Bulls, listen, they need to figure some stuff out. They need to figure now. Some of the stuff is going to get better with the additions of Alex Caruso, bringing Javonte Green back. I also think, Tony Bradley did not have a really good night, but again, this team overall didn't have a good night. But again, I really do think every time I see Tony Bradley play now, it just more solidifies to me that Tyler Cook needs to be getting those minutes over Tony Bradley. Now, injury to Derrick Jones Jr. We don't have any details about it. It's been said that it could be a serious knee injury. Some people have said that maybe it might just end up being a hyperextended knee, which still can put him out for 2 to 4 weeks, if not longer. But does this push the Bulls' hand in making a move to bring somebody in? Troy Brown Jr. has been playing better. They can try to use his contract. The fact that it's expiring, maybe a team wants to take a look at him with consideration of signing him long term for a veteran or something like that. Does that push the Bulls' hands? We'll see. Ultimately, I don't think the Bulls are going to make a knee-jerk move either way. We've seen very often with this front office, they really just make the right moves, right? Or the moves that put a stopgap on it. But as far as like big moves, they are very controlled when they do those type of things. So I don't know if they were going to make a big move, it's not going to be just because of this Derrick Jones Jr. injury. So we'll see what happens with that. They may end up just bringing back Jordan Bell. They may take a look at some other people out there. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens and what the Bulls do. But the first thing is finding out what's going on with Derrick Jones Jr. Prayers out to him. Hopefully he's nothing serious. He's been playing pretty good for us over the course of the season, and I really do like him and what he brings off the bench. I like what they were doing with him in the pick and roll with Lonzo at one point that they kind of gotten away from. I hope he has a speedy recovery. I hope that he's not going to be out an extended amount of time because we need him. And I like Derrick Jones Jr. on this team, and I hope to see him back and all of that. Bulls need to get healthy. We already know Alex Caruso is still not going to be back for the Golden State game. Javonte's not going to be back for that game. Tyler Cook's not going to be back for that game. And by the way that everything looks right now, Derrick Jones Jr. is not going to be back in that game either. So look for Alfonso McKinney to probably get the start again. We'll see how he continues to play. But overall, this Bulls team in the next 48 hours, right? 48 hours, they really need to be looking at themselves and taking a look and improving the things. Defense needs to be the priority. The offense can almost take care of itself if you're doing ball movement and not doing iso ball. I think some of that also is on the coach play calling, but their defense needs to lock in. I don't give a damn if Caruso's not there or not. Team defense is team defense, and they need to lock in and improve on the defensive end, especially when we're going to be facing a team like the Golden State Warriors. And even with Clay being out, they already went on a tear without Clay being there. Draymond not being there, yes, it's definitely going to be a thing, especially for what Draymond brings defensively and stuff like that. Vooch is going to have to look at himself and realize that he's a big man, right? And yes, I know he takes threes in the flow of the game, but he needs to body some people up. This Vooch laying up and not dunking it hard thing, I need some questions on. I need some answers on that one. And he needs to answer that in the game against the Golden State Warriors, I feel. We'll see what this Bulls team do. I do trust this team to be able to get back on the right track and not let this turn into a long thing. But they need to show it. They need to show and prove. I grew up in the show me state in very many. Well, I moved there when I was a teenager. But listen, you got to show me. You got to show me. Bulls, Golden State's next. We then got Boston on Saturday. We got Memphis on TNT on Monday. Then we got Cleveland and Milwaukee. Those are all going to be very tough games for the Bulls, especially if they continue to play like this. Follow that up with Orlando, OKC, and Toronto, and then San Antonio. Listen, it's not getting any easier anytime soon. The Bulls really need to get back on track. They need to look at themselves, like I keep saying on this, and they need to figure it the fuck out. That's my thoughts on it. Let me know what you guys think down below. Next episode tomorrow, I'll be going into the mailbag heavy. I know I got some voicemails I haven't gotten to and a couple of texts as well. So I'll be doing that here shortly and getting that back out because I know you guys have been leaving the voicemails and I appreciate that. But that's it for me today. Make sure you're following the podcast. Oh, forgot. I will be, and I won't surprise you guys with this one. First of all, shout out to Matt Peck and Big Dave who really showed up and did an episode with me yesterday before the game, and I appreciate them for showing up. I will actually be on Locked On Bulls today, so be on the lookout for that. I'll be over there doing an episode with them on their show. So once that drops, I'll make sure I repost it and everything. But all right, now you can follow us at Bull Central Pod on every social media platform. You can also send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, bullcentralpod@gmail.com. Also, if you want to leave a voicemail or a text to be played on that mailbag episode, the number for that is 773-270-2799. Like I like to end every episode on, go Bulls. Love you guys. Peace.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.